Why weight loss feels harder the smarter you are. Man, we must be really smart, huh? Well, I don't mean that sarcastically. I really mean it, because the people who struggle the most with weight loss are often the ones who can't just shut their brains off and follow something blindly. We notice too much. We feel too much. Our systems just don't comply. If we were less thoughtful, less perceptive, less internally aware, a lot of plans would probably work better. We could override signals, ignore discomfort, push through. But when we're smart, our bodies don't let us do that so easily. They keep flagging things that don't line up. They keep resisting strategies that feel off. They won't cooperate just because something should work. And that resistance is usually interpreted as failure. But what if it's actually just information? What if the reason things haven't stuck for us isn't because we're doing something wrong, but because our systems are too intelligent to accept inputs that don't feel safe or sustainable? I didn't always understand that, but I do now. You're listening to Setpoint Science, the science behind how your body and brain regulate weight for good. I'm your host, Sherry Alberts, and today we're talking about why weight loss often feels harder the smarter you are. I have a very specific memory from about a year ago. I remember exactly where I was when I thought it. In fact, if you're watching the video, you can see me point just past the camera. I was right there. I was standing on the other side of my desk at my window, completely frustrated, like high alert, nervous system on fire, frustrated, angry, at my wit's end. Remember when I told you about this moment in the first episode, and for what felt like the millionth time, I typed into ChatGPT, what's wrong with me? Why won't my body let this weight go? Why does it keep holding on to it? What could possibly be good about holding on to this weight? And that's when I heard that word safe. The exhale that came with that was the opposite of anything I'd done for like the last 25 years. But what I see now is it wasn't just the word safe that mattered. It was how long I'd been trying to think my way through something that my body was responding to. I had thought and thought and thought, read, tried, forced, pushed, started over, tried a million things a million times, and I was still getting nowhere. You know that feeling when you're absolutely sure you figured out this time, and then the weekend comes or something throws you off and suddenly you're right back where you started. You start wondering, if my life never calms down, will I ever get this? My life is going to have to just be like this still water for me to get this. And for me, it always felt like I was either on or off. There was no middle. There was no steady place to land. And I kept thinking, how could I possibly succeed with long-term weight loss if it's always going to be up and down like this? What finally clicked for me was that discipline was never the issue. I could restart a million times. I never gave up. When I was just exhausted from trying to think my way through something my body was meant to do on its own. And over time, I started to notice something else. A pattern I see again and again in my work with women is that those who feel the most stuck are often the ones thinking the hardest about getting it right. Sound familiar? That's when I started to see that what I had been calling failure was actually my body saying, this isn't how regulation works. This isn't the right way for you to be eating. This isn't the right way for you to be forcing. And once I saw that, the question stopped being what I was doing wrong and started becoming what all that thinking was doing inside the body. When we talk about overthinking here, we're not talking about a personality trait. We're talking about what your body experiences when your brain stays busy. Your brain is a physical organ. It's soft, it uses a lot of energy, and it's constantly talking to the rest of your body. And it talks using chemicals called hormones. These are the little messengers that travel through your bloodstream and tell other cells what to do. So when your brain is constantly monitoring, correcting, planning, staying ahead, it doesn't just stay in your head. That activity gets translated into signals throughout your body. Even if the thoughts feel calm or logical, the body experiences vigilance as work. Imagine a small team, your energy regulation system. It's inside you whose job is to decide how much energy to release. When things feel calm and predictable, that team loosens its grip a little bit. When things feel demanding, it tightens. So constant thinking tells that team, stay alert. This is what we mean by cognitive load. So cognitive load isn't just having thoughts, right? It's the effort of constantly checking in, evaluating, managing, asking, am I doing this right? What should I do next? What if this backfires? And here's what's so interesting. That kind of thinking actually uses real fuel. Did you even know? Thinking takes fuel. It takes calories. It's like a car running on gasoline. Your brain runs primarily on glucose. And when it's working hard all day, it signals the body to make sure that that fuel stays available. This is where cortisol comes in. Cortisol is a hormone made by your adrenal glands, two small triangular shaped organs that sit on top of your kidneys. Cortisol's job is to help you function when life asks more of you. It's not a bad hormone, it's a protective one. When cortisol rises, it gently nudges the body to conserve energy. Digestion slows a little bit, fat release becomes less accessible, blood sugar is kept steady so your brain doesn't run out of fuel. And when I say steady, I don't mean optimal, I just mean safe. Your brain is very sensitive to drops in blood sugar. Even a small dip can feel like danger. So cortisol helps prevent that by keeping glucose circulating, even if that means holding on to stored energy a little bit more tightly. From the body's perspective, this is wise. If there's ongoing demand, don't loosen the reserves. But here's the important part. Your body can't tell the difference between physical danger and constant self-supervision. Both feel like pressure. So when your mind stays engaged all day, managing food, managing hunger, managing outcomes, managing the future, managing the past, your body gets the message that now is not the time to relax. This is why thinking harder doesn't lead to better regulation. Regulation doesn't happen through effort. It happens through state. So when I say regulation, I'm talking about the body being in a state where it feels safe enough to release energy instead of conserve it. Appetite regulation, metabolism, energy balance, these systems work best when your nervous system feels settled enough to hand the job over to automatic processes. But when your brain stays in charge, watching closely, correcting constantly, the body never quite hears, "You're safe, I got this." It hears, "Stay steady, something might go wrong." So it does exactly what it's designed to do. It conserves, it stabilizes, it protects. And this didn't develop because something went wrong. For many of us, thinking ahead helped us survive, succeed, and stay emotionally regulated in earlier chapters of life. It kept things from falling apart. It helped us feel prepared. Of course, that same strategy shows up around food and weight, though, especially in a world that teaches us that one wrong move can undo everything. There is nothing broken about this. This is a body responding intelligently to the information it's receiving. The work isn't to outthink it. The work is actually to reduce the sense of constant demand so the body can do what it already knows how to do. So if you're listening to this and feeling a sense of recognition, maybe even a little relief, I want you to pause with me for a moment because nothing you've been doing is wrong. Your body hasn't been resisting you. It's been responding to the amount of thinking and supervision it's been under. And when we finally see that, when we understand that this has been protection and not failure, something inside can soften. This is the place we practice from inside of Set Point Restore. It's not open just yet, but will be opening very soon. The work in there isn't about pushing the body to behave differently. It's about learning how to lower the demand it's been carrying so regulation can return naturally. If that kind of support feels helpful, you can learn more and join the waitlist at setpointscience.com/restore. Now let's keep going. When we take what we just talked about and look at how it plays out in real life, it usually doesn't look extreme. It looks sensible. It looks like tracking, planning, optimizing. It looks like wanting to do things right. For many of us, these behaviors started as safety strategies, ways to create predictability in an area of life that felt uncertain. Tracking can feel calming because it gives us numbers. Planning can feel reassuring because it gives us a sense of control. And optimizing can feel productive because it creates the feeling that we're actually improving something. And for a while, that can bring relief. But over time, especially for smart, capable people, these strategies can quietly turn into constant supervision. Instead of creating ease, they create pressure. What often happens is that the mind starts trying to prevent future discomfort before it even exists. We plan meals not just to nourish ourselves, but to avoid hunger later. We choose foods not just because we want them, but because we're trying to prevent regret. We adjust portions not based on what feels right now, but based on what we're afraid what might happen later. This is where the cognitive load really builds, because now every decision is carrying the weight of the future. And the underlying message to the body becomes, we can't let this go. We need to stay on top of this. From the outside, that can actually look like discipline, but inside it often feels like tension. It feels like like always being slightly braced, slightly alert, slightly responsible for making sure nothing goes wrong, worrying about an outcome before we even tried something or started something. And the tricky part is that smart people are very good at making this look reasonable. We can justify it, we can explain it, we can point to articles or rules or past experiences that support this. So instead of questioning the pressure, we often assume the problem is that we're not doing it well enough yet. I just have to get better at this, or I just have to get better at that. That if we just tracked more accurately, planned more carefully, optimized more consistently, got to the grocery store better and, learned how to do this better, we would finally relax. But what usually happens is the exact opposite. The more we try to prevent discomfort, the more pressure the system feels, because the body isn't experiencing those strategies as care. It's experiencing them as constant oversight. Imagine all the times that we say we need to just get better at planning. I can't tell you how many times someone has told me that their main issue is just they need to get better at meal planning. But that's actually adding all these other things to their day. Because the body isn't experiencing those strategies as care. It's experiencing them as more to do and constant oversight, bigger to-do lists. It doesn't feel safe. It feels like something is always at risk of failing. So this is why so many people say, I'm doing everything right, but I still feel tense around food, or I'm trying to do everything right. It just never lines up. If I could just get to after this thing is done, then it will work out. It's not because we lack willpower. It's because predictability achieved through control doesn't actually register as safety. Safety comes from consistency, adequacy, and the sense that the body is allowed to respond rather than be managed. So if you recognize yourself there's nothing to fix. This isn't a character flaw. It's not a personality trait that needs to be changed. It's a very intelligent system doing its best to just try to avoid future pain. And once we see that, once we recognize these patterns as protective rather than pathological, the shame starts to dissolve. We're not broken. We've just been working very, very hard to keep ourselves safe. This is the part I want us to really take in. Our overthinking is not the problem. It's a form of protection. It developed because at some point thinking ahead helped us feel safe, successful, or emotionally regulated in difficult situations. It helped us anticipate needs before they became urgent. It helped us avoid mistakes that had consequences. It helped us manage uncertainty when uncertainty didn't feel safe. That strategy worked at some point. And because it worked, it became familiar, it became reliable, it became something our system started to lean on. And by the way, it is what everyone tells you you're supposed to do as well. Every diet program out there is about tracking, planning, measuring this, that. So it makes sense that this same strategy shows up internally around your food and weight, especially if all of those areas have felt unpredictable, emotionally charged, or morally loaded in the past, especially if eating has ever felt like something that could spiral or something you had to get right to feel okay. Nothing about this is random, but it is where the shift happens. When protection stays switched on too long, it stops feeling like support and starts feeling like pressure. And pressure is what keeps the body in conservation mode. Not because it's stubborn or resistant, remember, but because it's responding to the message it's receiving. A message that says, stay alert, don't relax yet, something might go wrong. So the goal here is not to stop thinking, though. It's not to become less intelligent. It's not to care less. It's not to throw out everything you know. The goal is only to recognize when the mind is trying to manage the body instead of trust it. This distinction matters more than it might seem, because management tells the body that it's not safe to self-regulate, that it needs supervision, that it's one mistake away from trouble. And trust in this context isn't a belief. It's a physiological signal. When the body senses less management, it senses more safety. And safety is what allows flexibility to return. Now, this might actually seem counterintuitive to you. When the body senses less management, it senses more safety. We might think, oh, it's willy-nilly. I could just do whatever I want. It's going to be a free-for-all. That's actually not it. Safety is what allows flexibility to return. So we're allowing the body to do what it naturally does best and giving up the driver's seat there. When flexibility returns, you get flexibility in appetite, where hunger and fullness can ebb and flow without urgency. Flexibility in metabolism, where energy can be released instead of conserved. Flexibility in weight regulation, where the body doesn't feel the need to hold on so tightly. It's not about letting go in a reckless way. It's about letting go of unnecessary supervision. It's about allowing the systems that are already there, the ones designed to regulate energy and appetite, to come back online. Not because we forced them to, but because we finally stopped telling them that they couldn't be trusted. And once we understand that this has been protection, not failure, we don't need to do anything differently right now. We just need to start noticing. So this week, just notice when your mind jumps in to manage your body, not to stop it. We don't want to stop this. We just want to recognize it. I don't want you to change anything. I don't want you to eat differently, plan less, fix anything. Just want you to notice. Just watch. Here are a few ways that this can show up in real life, okay? So it can look like frustration with your weight maybe, or your eating that quickly turns into problem solving, thinking through what to do differently, making a plan. You get on the scale, you're upset about that, and you're like, how can I fix this? And then you find yourself right back in the same loop a few days later. It can look like spending time on social media, listening to or seeking out weight loss advice, Googling solutions, looking for the next thing that might finally make it click. Every single time we switch and do something new, this is another signal of lack of safety and mistrust of the actual systems that the body already has under control. It can look like your brain telling you, oh, I overate that thing, so that means I need to undereat now and probably tomorrow too, right? Just to be safe. It's the kind of thinking where every bite has a job, like, oh, I got to eat this one, or I have to eat this one, or something really bad will happen. And underneath all of it is this belief that if you miss any of these pieces in a day, oh my gosh, chaos, terror, something really bad is going to happen in 20 years. So we can usually tell when we're in a mental space like this, not just by the thoughts themselves, but by how it feels inside our bodies and our hearts. It often feels like stress, consuming thoughts, not really enjoying our full days, feeling down, preoccupied. And conversely, we usually know we're in a better place with our food, our bodies, and our effort when we feel calm and regulated. Not too much of this, not too much of that, not a ton of thoughts, just calm. And here's the important part. We don't fix this by adding it to the pile of things to worry about. That wouldn't make sense. That'd be counterintuitive. The issue here is too much thinking, so we can't solve it with more thinking. Instead, patterns like this tend to unravel when we see them for what they are, not when we try to actively change them. So this week, I only want you to start noticing the feelings in your body as you move through your days, and maybe the thoughts too. Are you feeling worried, anxious, frustrated, upset, scared, annoyed, overthinking, problem solving? Or are you feeling calm, peaceful? It's all good, open-hearted, confident, self-loving, in flow, neutral. Now, I don't want you to judge any of this. I don't want you to try to change any of it. I only want you to notice these states and where they show up during your week. Notice when eating feels like a task to get right rather than an experience to respond to. And when you notice it, see if you can name it gently, not as a flaw, but as protection. Okay, oh, there's me doing that again. Look, I'm trying to protect myself. Not, oh, there's me doing that again. What's wrong with me? So awareness without correction is regulating. And often that alone is going to begin to soften the system. That can be enough. Not because we're forcing change, but because the body, the amazing, intelligent, fantastic body, finally feels seen. Thanks for listening to Set Point Science. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the fact that your body isn't broken, it's responding. Until next time, notice when your inner world feels supportive and when it feels supervisory. Just noticing is enough. And if this episode gave you that sense of recognition, that's exactly the state we practice inside Set Point Restore. It's not open yet, but we'll be opening very soon. You can join the waitlist and learn more at setpointscience.com/restore.